Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Constant Brooks, and this episode I talk about separating personal and business. Because it's one of those things I'm doing this work and getting employed and reaching this far. And recording this episode is actually updates that I never thought of, but reaching this far and thing. What I realized that you're making the money. That's the phase. So when you listen to this episode, you're in the phase where you're making the money, and you can do so many things with the money. But the thing about it is that your life is not some one track page where you can be like, oh, this and that. What I do, as you grow older, there's a lot of complexities in life. So you have the basic food, shelter, and clothing. You need to get a house, clothes, and stuff like that. Then you have other necessary things that you may need. Okay, I need to do need a car and all those other stuff as well. And then boom, over time you may say, okay, if you reach that far, you'll be like, oh, I want to go vacation, travel, all these other stuff. These stuff are not important to your survival, but those are important to your life experience. As something you're working for the money, you want to enjoy it, and when you get it and stuff. And so those are personal stuff. Those are personal stuff. And then what other personal stuff would be, for example, when you have a family now raising a family, children, and all those stuff. You're going to put the money away. So you have the money that you want to spend on you, but now you have money, you have to put away money to spend on your family and stuff. So it's like, I said, at the grow up, you're getting that money, and then that money is actually being used a lot of different ways. So the next thing is no. So what happens is that when you grow up, you have a lot of personal things that you like to do. Like for me, playing games and all those stuff and all these things. And then there are other stuff that you need to do, that personal stuff that you need to do, like chores and all these stuff. And as I said, so what will happen is that as you grow older and you're trying to find ways to make money, you would be like, okay, I want to turn my passion, the thing that I love, into a business. So I could make, so I don't have to work a day in my life or something like that. But going through this work and stuff, I realized that you have to separate personal and business in a sense that you cannot. It's not that you can't turn something that you love in a passion to a business. But what going through that experience, one thing I realized was for everything, you have to have the personal and the business separate. Where, for example, if I want to turn my gaming love for gaming into a you know something to make money and stuff like that. Once I do that, in- all these things that money, the problem that money brings in, start coming to this gaming world. Like I'm more accountable on those stuff. So, like for example, fans and the people that are watching and all those stuff. So, as I said, those those are the business side of us playing the game. So while I may want to do that, it's not every time that I'm playing the game I want to go through the process of editing and stuff to actually build out good content to do this and that. Just to make money. Sometimes I just want to just play game just for fun. Just for fun and just chill and that stuff. So if I will just focus in and just turning that thing into a business, then I will kind of take away the fun of doing it. Just like this podcast as well. And I want to get it monetized and stuff, but I don't. The podcast allows me for me to clear my head and all those random stuff. I know I'm here now. No, I'm here now, and it can be turned to a very viable business. But I don't want it. The personal side of it, I don't want to get rid of that part. also have to know how to separate as this more become more established and more we are actually getting more established. I want to just lose the personal side of it while focusing on the business. And so as I said, so what what this episode was basically saying that there's as you grow, what I realized as I grow up, there's a lot of mundane, boring stuff that you can do for money. So you're always going to want, as you grow older, you always want to find a way to make your hobby integrate your hobby into your life, so that your adult life is not as mundane as it set it's always told it's going to be. And the natural thing would be as well as to try to turn your passion into a business, and then you say, okay, I can just over eventually when my side hustle with my passion just turn into a viable business, I could just quit and then just focus on doing it full time. Well, doing this working employee stuff, what I realize is that if you listen to those episodes, you realize that I did day shift, night shift, and all those stuff, and those were not good experiences. Even if it's something that I love, working day and night, and sometimes to get this, think my passion viable, a viable business. You don't want to actually do that. You actually may turn around and start to hate your passion because you have to work so hard to turn into a business. You don't want to actually just um get yourself out there trying to turn everything to a business. No, what I realize is that I'm taking the time to learn how to start a business, then how to actually place in the parts to make it a viable business. But you don't hear me. I'm just throwing out the idea. That's what the podcast is. Right? You're just throwing out the ideas. You're not seeing anything tangible. Because once it once it turns tangible now, then you're accountable to all these stuff and stuff. No, you just chilling, dreaming, saying, okay, yeah, this can happen. This can happen. And then a couple of those dreams turn to reality and be like, okay. Yeah, and then we say, okay, we're back to dreaming again. And we just see a couple more things can happen again. And then when the dreams become a reality, then we handle responsibilities as well. And so same thing again with farming. So you mentioned farming. What I realized is that I can turn farming, a skill to a viable business because I see a vision of how I could actually make efficient money from farming. But as well, also, I want to actually just do. I need to eat as well. So it's one of those things where you will say, okay, I could separate if I do farming, I'm very good at doing it. I don't want to just take all the things that I plant and reap and just going to sell it, try to make money when I actually need some to actually satisfy myself as well. You'll be like, okay, I farm a lot, and then boom, I reap and harvest. I said, okay, boom, I take out of this harvest, this can really serve me for a year. And you just put it down and store it. And then what happens is that now the rest of the harvest you just go to sell it because what happen is that you have things in abundance. Because you have the things in abundance instead of you going trying to keep it and make it waste. You just okay, you just maybe sell it and then you sell it for some people. Then you get the money so you can actually invest in something else and stuff. So that's how a business can start from it, but not separating the personal from the business side is that you make sure that your passion and stuff like that is not being wrapped up in a business side of it. Because once you enter the business world, you're basically in a competing world. When you're in a personal world now, your time is just okay. It's you time. You just chill and just doing your thing, me time. When in the business world, even the farming, when they go to the markets, everybody is out there trying to make a dollar. And so, even though I say, okay, I can make a viable business about making eh, making selling stuff. When you're going out to sell, for example, tomatoes or stuff like that, you have how many people as well trying to sell tomatoes. So you have to actually differentiate yourself from that as well. So while I say okay, it could be easy, it's not. It's not as easy as you think. So w- you don't want it's just one of those things that I realize what this episode is basically saying is that It's good to have in mind to say, okay, I could turn a couple of stuff that I do know how to do personally into that business. But what I was what I am doing is basically not forcing it. It could be that I just go through life and never turn those on none of these things business in a reality. Or what happens at the right situation just come and then boom, I start a viable business model by having all the right conditions met. That's one of the things I say if you listen to the podcast, you realize that when I just came out of university, I'm trying to meet this thing that is going to make, get me rich and be like, okay, yes, this is this thing. But then I realized in the real world is one thing to build a product, then I have to deal with all the other stuff as well. Doing this work, I realized that all the other stuff I have to deal with as well. So it's not as easy. So that's me just going back to the drum board to say, okay, I'm just chilling now, focusing on my needs, my personal self. Because what happens is that I may have business goals, but I have personal goals as well. And to me, and the personal goals kind of comes would have come first. Because when it's all said and done, and you old and gray, it's your personal goals you're going to look at and be like, oh my god, I'm too old to actually pursue all these stuff now. I have to just try to get the personal goals as well started as soon as possible so that you can get that out of the way. And then what happens that the business goal will kind of get easier as you basically can say, okay, my personal life is actually sorted out now, so I know how to actually effectively run my personal life. Then I cannot start tapping into the business and set up my time now for the business where I'm like, okay, no, they can be like one of those efficient CEOs that you popular CEO will be like, okay, yes, because you take the time to actually separate your business from personal. Mhm. So that's basically something that I am thinking about, and that's basically for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for the next episode. Mhm.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
Vote. Yes. So if you listen to one of the episodes, I think it's the end of month update I talk about, I saw something from my university where it's an alumni meetup for one of my faculties for the faculty that I was in. And I actually went there and I think that was actually important for me. I'm very nice for me to go back there. And such because what happens that when I went there, one thing that I learned from it was that you get once you get the accomplishments, once you go through and get the paper and stuff, and then you go back there. Yeah, just it's like it does seem competent and won't be judged, because what happened is that basically I went there, and if you listen to the podcast, you learn about how my chemistry experience in that first year was.